So in order to have top-level consumers, not only do you, okay, to have 10 snakes, because we like snakes, to have 10 snakes, we need to have 100 frogs and 1,000 grasshoppers and 10,000 blades of grass. If we were to have just one, right, we still needed 10 frogs, 100 grasshoppers, and 1,000 blades of grass to feed just all of that, to feed just one snake. Top-level consumers are expensive biologically. Where are we?
Oh, we're the biggest consumers.
And what's happening to our population?
It's growing.
Yeah. Okay, so if we could all be primary consumers and be herbivores, it'd be easier on the system. But top-level consumers are very expensive to a system. So we've been showing simplified food chains. The food web is much more true to life, where you show the interactions, the complex interactions, much more clearly. You don't ever look at the raven. I guess we could put the crow in for around here. Eats everything. Much more complex and true to life. And so that's what ecology is doing, is trying to understand the system. Okay, D. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Nutrients, and I think that word is so vague. So I'd like to start with a definition of a nutrient. Nutrient is an element or molecule essential to life. Now, elements essential to life. There's a whole bunch of elements out there, but very few of them are necessary to life. The ones you need for life, go ahead, tell me.
Water. Oxygen, carbon.
Are you getting to proteins and things like
Not
that?
yet. This is why I'm defining this. Okay. An element is a specialized atom. We have oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus.
Calcium.
Mm-hmm.
Sodium.
Uh-huh. Let's see, let's put some potassium in there.
Magnesium.
Sulfur.
Okay, there's only 5. There's only, well, no, there's really only 4 that make up 96% of all life. Here they are. Oh, right. Here they are. C, which stands for what?
Carbon.
H stands for? O stands for? And N stands for? Those 4 elements make up 96% of life. Those elements are essential to life. Now, those are elements. Those are different from molecules. This is where we're going with you, Diane. Molecules are elements bonded together with chemical bonds. Molecules made out of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, put those 3 together and you're going to get a carbohydrate. Examples of carbohydrates: sugar. Example of sugar, this is what the plants make. Glucose is a sugar, it's a carbohydrate. Another carbohydrate. If we had, well, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a fat plant? An overweight plant? Starve. Have you ever seen an overweight plant?
It's hard to
Gary, have you ever seen an overweight plant? He knows the answer to this. What?
all about tree.
All about tree.
That's not overweight. That's within its BMI.
No.
Okay, he already knows where I'm going with this, so I'm not going to ask him any more questions. Okay, why don't you see a fat plant? Do plants ever make, okay, let me give you the punchline. Plants make glucose.
Yeah.
If we could do that, we could lay out in the sun and get fat. Not eat a thing, just lay in the sun and eat. Wouldn't that be nice? But plants don't. Plants are out in the sun, making food all day. Why don't they get fat?
They don't have nervous disorders.
What? They do. But they don't get fat. But they're making food all the time, constantly. And they're in the sun making food constantly. Why don't they get fat?
They're not making their own food.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
He knows where I'm going, so you don't get to answer anymore, Gary.
They're self-regulating.
No, they're making it as fast as they can, aren't they, Gary?
Yeah.
They're making it, making it. Do they need it, Gary, do they need it all?
Be careful.
They don't. They are making more than they need. They're making more than they need, but they don't get fat because they don't store their extra sugar in the form of fat, like animals do. They store their extra sugar in the form of
Seeds and fruits.
Oh, that's one way.
Well, I mean, they're always moving it, they move the energy around, and like when you watch a plant, it's got big leaves, and then the leaves shrink as it puts the energy into flowering and fruiting and making a seed. So it's just constantly in motion.
It puts a lot of energy into the seed. If you were to ingest one part of a plant that had the highest amount of fat, it would be the seeds. Because okay, so the kids get a lot of the fat. If it makes any fat, it goes to the kids. Okay, but the plant, if we're not worried about the kids, the plant has extra glucose. It's hooking that glucose together in a nice big long chain. Big long chain. And it's sending it into storage. In the form of
Starch.
there it is. He couldn't help it. Starch. Plants do not store their extra food in the form of fat. They store it in the form of starch. Seen in it's a classic storage.
Tubers.
Potatoes. Potatoes made all of that extra sugar and sent it south and stored it. It's a carbohydrate. It's just the plant sugar all hooked together and stored. Can we, oh, this is such a good question. Can we get fat from eating starch?
Yes.
I tried to get hash browns at McDonald's this morning. They said, we can't make hash browns. I'm like, oh, that's okay. You're doing it. Okay. Plants also make little boxes around their cells to hold their bodies up. Can we digest cellulose? Do we eat cellulose? Can we digest cellulose? What do we call it in our diet? Metamucil. We can't digest it. Plants make it out of sugar. Plants make cellulose. We cannot digest it. Can other animals digest it?
Yes.
Why? What's in those multiple stomachs?
Bacteria.
Bacteria. Bacteria have the ability to break down cellulose. We do not have the right bacteria. If we had a better appendix, we might be able to do that. Our appendix is too small. A horse, I have lots of horse data. A horse has a really big appendix. Filled with bacteria, that's where their cellulose goes. Can they eat hay and get energy out of it? Can we eat hay and get energy out of it? No. Bacteria. Okay, so that's carbohydrates. That's just one kind of molecule made out of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Rearrange those carbon, hydrogen, and oxygens in an animal body and store it for long term. And you have lipids. One type of lipid is fat. Long-term energy storage. Can you make fats out of carbohydrates? Oh, that's a good question. Can you make fat If you eat too much starch, can you get fat?
Yes.
Can you make fats out of carbohydrates?
Yes.
You bet your bippy. Your liver does it really well. You need to have a talk with your liver. What are lipids made out of? They're made out of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. It's just rearranging those carbohydrates. Your body thinks it's doing you a favor. All these people that were on low-fat diets and stuffed their faces full of these low-fat cookies and crackers, their liver's like, okay, well, I'll just turn this into fat. Third major molecule of life, hooking these together, let's add some nitrogen in there and make proteins. Protein is a molecule, has nitrogen in there. This is the building block of animal bodies. We get our protein not from sugars or lipids. Where do we get our protein? Oh, this is where Charlie can come in. Did you get your protein today, Charlie?
Well, I had some bacon.
There it is. Okay, so say you're a vegetarian. Where are you going to get your protein?
Beans.
Okay, why? Why?
Fix nitrogen.
They fix nitrogen. Legumes have bacteria living in their roots that are able to take atmospheric nitrogen and turn it into a form that the plant can use. So the plant ends up having, the plant doesn't have a clue. The plant's like, look at all this protein or all this nitrogen I have. It's because you've got vapor in the roots. But protein, building blocks, muscle, connective tissue. You have to have nitrogen for that. If you want your grass to grow green, if you want to make that chlorophyll pigment, what do you add to your grass? Nitrogen. There's a fourth group well, here, let me go ahead and give it to you. The fourth group of molecules are the nucleic acids. That is the DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Those are it's a specific kind of molecule, and it's in the nucleus of the cell, and it tells the cell how to make its proteins. It has instructions for building proteins. Because you are what your proteins turn out to be. And the proteins that you make are dictated by your DNA, saying how to make your proteins. So Giselle Bundchen just has good protein. Okay. Organic versus inorganic. Those terms are often misused. In ecology, organic simply means carbon-based molecule. Organic means it's a carbon-based molecule. Inorganic means no carbon. And it usually refers to mineral-based. For example, we often use these terms when we're talking about soil, and you can talk about the components of a soil. You've got the carbon, or the organic components of the soil, which is everything that is either alive or used to be alive,